Welcome to KP's Black Box today. As I just found out, we've been rolling for a good 6 minutes just BSing over here with my guests and my crew behind the cameras who suck. No, I'm just kidding. Kidding, guys. Kidding. We'll do a little... They are awesome. I'm the Nimrod. Can you say that word? Is that socially acceptable to say that today? Aaron, are you okay with
Absolutely.
Nimrod? You probably hear
acceptable.
That every once in a while, right? So my guest today, Mr. Aaron Burkart, who is a strength and conditioning coach, coached collegiate football, strength and conditioning. I've got a page full of universities that he's coached at. The one that's missing that I'm a little disappointed in, Aaron, if you cut me, I actually bleed Carolina blue. Massive Tar Heel fan. So will you still stay on the show with me knowing that?
Did they play football there?
I think
they play basketball.
They play basketball. The football program,
They do.
Good one.
Oh,
It's coming around.
Yeah. Slowly but surely. Mac Brown back again.
Mac Brown back again from Texas.
So,
and you were at Texas State.
So if you'd like to know a little bit of backstory here.
Yeah.
The guy that I worked for at JMU in Texas State was the interim head coach at North Carolina. His name's Everett Withers.
Wow.
For a period of time.
See, Carolina, again, planting the seed throughout the world for collegiate athletics.
No question.
Wow. From Tobacco Row right there in Chapel Hill, North Carolina. All great things. Right?
Something like that.
Yeah. It's kind of like the great state of Ohio you're from, right?
Well, it is the great state of Ohio, and I would not compare the two. I'm sorry.
To North Carolina.
To anybody from North Carolina, but no, I can't. Because Ohio is...
It's further north.
It's not only further north. I mean, you want to get into who's better, what's better. I don't know.
You have a rusty river somewhere up around there, right? Is that?
We had a river that caught on fire. Not a lot of people can claim that.
Right.
Right. We also housed the most presidents ever come from the state of
From Ohio?
Yeah. It's 8. You can look it up. There's a little...
Fact check this guy. He's starting out with the BS meters.
There's a little bit of debate on it, but it's true. I don't know.
U.S. presidents, not like
United
president
States,
of the boys club or
U.S.
girls club. Or,
not to mention professional football started in the great state of Ohio.
I'll give you that. I did know.
I mean, I'll tell you what, I don't know really what else you need, but...
Football and presidents, right?
Yeah. That's what Ohio does.
So what we do need, and what we always like to start the show out with, is a great military. So I always like to give a toast out and a shout out to our men and women in uniform, especially the Marine Corps. Semper Fi. Although I was a little pissed with them in something they did a few weeks ago. Now, let me preface this for you, Aaron, that I'm an equal opportunity offender, okay? But the Marine Corps really upset me with something they did to the porters. So I'm a very proud Marine. Once a Marine, always a Marine, right? You've heard that?
Yep.
So my son, Isaiah, over here, who's a young man in the Army, oddly enough, he wanted to go work in the Special Forces field and, try his hand at that and, has some goals there. But he wanted to go the route of following in his father's footsteps and be a U.S. Marine. Well, the Marine Corps had these very high standards that you could not have tattoos below a certain length when you're wearing your dress uniform. I think it was your Bravos or your Alphas maybe. For those of you in that world, you can correct me and tell me if I'm wrong here. But at any rate, his tattoos were too low on his sleeve, and they would stick out below the sleeve, so they would not give him a waiver and would not let him into our glorious Corps. So I was a little upset by that, but I was like, you know what, Isaiah, you chose that. I appreciate that the Marine Corps has standards. But then they went back a few weeks ago and celebrated diversity and celebrated the LGBTQ plus world, which I'm okay. Pick your poison. If you like guys, cool. If you like girls, cool. If you like whatever, I'm not here to judge you for that. That's what our Creator's for. And I move on. I'm like, I'm okay with that. But when you set a standard to say, we're going to celebrate this group for their diversity, and we're going to celebrate that 10 years we didn't ask and we didn't tell and we're moving on. But then they're going to ask my son, do you have tattoos that are a little far down on your sleeve? That, to me, has a standard that's a little out of kilter.
Skewed.
A little skewed. Now, I don't want to get you in trouble or put you on the hot seat for that, but we're going to talk football today and talk about some of the standards that you came up with as a strength and conditioning coach, and then some of your head coaches came up with how they were going to lead these young men, these players. And you have to have a standard. You have to have a guideline by which everybody has to follow. And even though I went on a little rant there and I was a little upset with the Marine Corps, I still love the Marine Corps, still love our nation's military and the sacrifices that them and their families are making every day for the freedoms that we enjoy here in the U.S. So I just wanted to say cheers to you folks. And you can sip this. You don't have to.
I'm not going to shoot this. It'd be wrong.
It would be wrong. And a lot of folks think they have to do that. So let's have a... Yeah, it's pretty tasty.
It's delicious. It's real good.
Blue Label, Johnny Walker, thank you. And feel free to send us some more because we've already gone through a bottle in 7 or 8 episodes. So,
well,
not that I drink a lot.
No, it's for the guest.
It's for the guest.
It's very important.
So, anyways, I was on my rant there, and I'm sorry. We'll give myself a boo for that rant. But whoa, that went a long time. Hey, thanks for being here.
Absolutely happy to be.
We met through a mutual friend and coworker, Cheryl Zonkowski, who I was trying to get her to come up with a program for me to eat Chunky Monkey as my diet.
Yeah, like that's the only thing you eat?
That's on my plate. Fist-sized portions in each quadrant.
It's difficult. I can't help you with that. I'm sorry.
Do you have a workout program that can help me with that?
Sure.
That's Dom's dumb old man syndrome there, right?
Yeah, that's going to be difficult.
Okay.
You're not going to be happy with what comes out at the,
Yeah, usually I'm not, but it tastes so good going in. So
I'm with you. I understand. I get it.
All right. So Cheryl says, hey, Kenny, you should have Aaron on your show because he's an amazing coach. He knows his stuff. So let's talk strength and conditioning. And here in BlackBox, we talk about everything from oxygen to money. So we want to figure out how do you make money being a strength and conditioning coach? And then how do you help people breathe longer and understand a little bit about you and how you can help the community at large and being fit.
Sure.
So looking forward to having those conversations with you today. So give me a little background. You played football for Bowling Green?
Bowling Green.
Bowling Green?
Yep.
What position did you play?
I was a linebacker.
Linebacker,
Yep.
Okay.
I was a lot heavier at the time. I was at my heaviest, I was about 228, 230, somewhere there.
Outside linebacker?
I was actually middle linebacker.
Middle linebacker.
I played in the Mid-American Conference. We don't put out a lot of those 200.
It's not like Nebraska linebacker, right?
No. Yeah. However, again, we were ranked in the top 25 2 years I was there. We were ranked in the top 20 one of those years.
That's a big deal, yeah.
We beat 2 Big Ten teams, beat Big East teams. Like we were very, very good. Now I didn't beat them. Let me be very clear about that. The team did. I was more than happy to run down on kickoff.
No I in team
return and do my job, but that's about it, right?
So that's pretty interesting. You bring up kickoff. So you've got to be a little bit crazy.
Hey, whatever it takes to get on the field.
Right.
It is what it is, right? And that's what I could do well.
Yeah. So what was your favorite thing about kickoffs? And
actually, to be honest with you, kickoff return was my favorite because we did a lot of stuff where I could, I hate to say this, like I could blindside guys, and it was kind of fun. Like it's fun to earhole somebody, but that was kind of what we did. So
that's not like technically taught anymore, but when I was coming up,
it's not anymore.
It was put your helmet in the ear hole, right?
Yeah. I knocked a guy out once.
That's awesome.
And
sorry for you, dude. That was you, but that's awesome.
Like I remember doing it, and I remember looking at him, not knowing what to do next. Like I was.
Do I help this guy up, or do I?
I'm not supposed to.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Later on in the film room, I was told to go block somebody else next time that happens. So, I made sure I did that if it happened again. But yeah, you're not allowed to do that anymore. And I don't know if it's a bad thing.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not trying to say I'm all about kind of us getting soft, but at the same time, like, there's good reason for it, right?
Well, traumatic brain injuries are a real
They're a real
deal.
thing, right? It's not fake, and it's something that we need to address, and it can't go unlooked, right?
So it happens in the tactical world. It happens in the athletic world.
Certainly. Yep.
Both are war, so you're going at it.
Yeah, and I'm always careful about that. I'll be honest with you, right? And especially, you know, because currently I do work in a tactical setting, and I'm very careful. I've always been very careful about it, right? Because what we do on a football field on Saturdays is certainly not life and death, right?
Mm-hmm. Although the coach would want you to think it is.
They would love for you to think it is, right? But, you know, in the battle, you know, the other guy gets a say, and his say can be fatal. So that is not the case when we play football on Saturday. However, you know, it's important. You know, diminish the importance of it, and it is. But at the same time, like,
did you ever get your bell rung playing ball?
110%.
Yeah,
no question.
Yeah, me too.
Like, I know more than a few times, right? So
there was one instance I got hit so hard. This kid, he went to Norfolk Catholic, and Roman, if you remember this, if you remember me, give me a shout out. His name was Roman Small, and he went on to play football. I don't know if he stayed at UNC. But big old boy. And I went to a small Christian school called Greenbrier Christian. He went to Norfolk Catholic here locally. And all I can remember is this guy hitting me one day. I was playing fullback and popped through the line, and he was a down lineman, and my buddy missed his block. And I got stood up and hit, and all I remember is laying on my back, looking out the ear hole out of my right eye of the football helmet.
It's not a really good day. It's a bad day.
Yeah. I was probably 215, maybe. You know how they always beef your weight up a little bit in the games, but so maybe lighter. But he was all 300 pounds.
Yeah,
and it was not. And he was fast, nimble.
It wasn't fun.
And that's probably the hardest hit. You know, a little bit of time of having a small collegiate experience that ended quickly.
Sure.
But being in that environment, what I loved about it was that the camaraderie, the team, the desire of everybody reaching the same goal and wanting the same goal, which was just to win. And, you know, when I played, Aaron, I was in a small Christian school that had no conference, and it was literally about trying to have a perfect season. That was our main, because there was no championship, there was no goal, and the best we did in my 4 years was 8-2, and that was my senior year. And that felt really good because the teams we played were all over the region because there was no conference, and so we'd go to Maryland, we'd go to North Carolina, and we'd play these other private schools, and they were usually some decent players. But you know, from the time from football to the Marine Corps and moving through that time in my life, both have some very common goals and common mindset in terms of the team approach. So as a strength and conditioning coach, when you're looking at that team approach and you're working with the individual to hit individual goals for the sake of the team, what is it you do? It seems like to me that strength and conditioning, a lot of times, you should also be considered like a motivational coach.
I would take it even a step further.
All right.
Right? You're the culture coach.
The culture coach. Explain that.
So whenever you get to the university and you are part of a new staff, right, your job is to take the vision of the head coach and put that vision into action, is to move that vision forward. Because as a strength coach, and it's really a gift as a strength coach, is you're with the kids more than any other coaches.
Really?
Right?
Okay.
More than any other coach, right? So if you think about it, I'd have them for 8 weeks in the winter. We'd have spring ball. I'd have them for another 8 weeks in the summer, and then we'd have the season, right? And really at the end of the time, if you think about it, there's time in between there. There's dead time, but I still have the kids. It's just not mandatory at that point in time. But when you look at it, like, those are the longest periods they'll be with one coach for an extended period of time. and it's probably the most critical job. Most coaches will tell you that. I think you'll hear it. Just listen next year when the coaching carousel starts, if there is a coaching carousel, because I don't even know if we're going to have
this whole
a
COVID
season.
thing.
Right?
Yeah.
So we sit there and we have this carousel. Listen to every coach. We'll say the most important hire I made was my strength coach. Most important hire I made was strength coach. Right? There's a reason for that. He's going to be the first boots on the ground. He's going to be the first one to interact with the kids. He's going to be the first one to set the tone. At the end of the day, he's in charge of setting that tone. So is he a motivator? Certainly. Is he a dad? Absolutely. Is he a psychiatrist? No doubt. Is he a strength coach? Yes. Is he concerned about speed and power and all that fun stuff? There's no question. Yeah. You wear a lot of hats. And it's probably the best part about it. Even the part about it that's even better than that is you don't get to affect playing time.
So you've gone through some iterations of some schools with different culture, different philosophy. You were at Bowling Green, Ball State, Florida twice, West Virginia, Illinois, JMU, Texas State, right?
Yep.
Favorite school out of those I just mentioned? Well, maybe I should say favorite coach to work for, head coach.
Oof. Well,
I'll put you on the hot seat.
It was my last one. Coach Withers, for me, was the best.
Yeah.
And again, he gave me my first opportunity to be a head strength coach at JMU.
At JMU,
yeah.
okay.
So it was my first time being a head guy, right?
You were telling me off camera that the year you left, unfortunately, you built this program, you built this team, and then you took off, went to another school.
I mean, we did, right? And I would say that we built the program, right? And we got a job, an opportunity at the FBS level to go to Texas State. And so that's kind of
hard to turn down, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's always difficult to leave kids. And I had a really strong relationship with those kids, especially because it was my first job, and it will always be special to me. And my wife and I, we loved Harrisonburg. Love it, love it, love it. But at the end of the day... and
your wife, Chelsea, worked at JMU as well.
She's a dietitian. She's been with me everywhere we went. She worked there as well.
Geez, your poor kids. Strength coach and a dietitian in the house.
Oh, we can talk about that.
No chunky monkey?
And she would tell you that's not true. And we have...
Chelsea, I don't know you, so I don't mean to
We have Oreos in the house. Like, they exist.
No kidding.
Right? But, it's 80-20. It's only 20% of the time. Right?
I think I could live with that.
It's not 20-80.
Okay.
Make sure it's 80-20, right? So at the end of the day, I think I've worked for some unbelievable coaches, and I've got to see some unbelievable coaches at work, right? I mean, Hall of Famers. But there's something special about your first staff as a head coach, head strength coach, you know, and Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Where's he at now?
He is at Texas. He is he's the head defensive analyst at the University of Texas right now.
Great program there.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. Again, Mac Brown, Tar Heels,
So he worked for Mac Brown at App State. That's where he met Mac Brown. Oh, he played for Mac at App State, and then I believe he GA'd for him.
So we've got a guy coming on the show in 2 weeks. His name's Josh Morgan. So a little shout out to Josh here. Amazing knife maker, like forger, big time. Actually, one of our mutual friends who just retired from the Navy, he made him a knife and an axe. Yeah, that's just absolutely gorgeous. But he went to App State. Okay. And what was it in? Like I think it's appropriate engineering or sustainable engineering or something like that. So it's a fancy word for this dude can go in the backwoods and make solar power out of leaves from a tree or something. Right. Crazy stuff. Right. But App State, man, there's not many folks that know. Boone, North Carolina,
which is gorgeous.
Yeah, out in the middle of nowhere, but
it is beautiful.
Yeah.
But I was told it's also a dry county.
There's not much going on there in the way of Johnny Walker. So
I'm good. I'll pass.
Right.
Yeah.
Let's go to Texas.
I'll pass. Yeah.
So I'm going to take you back a little bit, if I can, to your football playing days. Yeah. Growing up in Ohio, big football state.
Yep.
I'm guessing you played high school, pee-wee, all that stuff?
I did. Yep. I went to Catholic school for 12 years. Now in Ohio, different than Virginia, is that we play with everybody. So,
you got to compete.
Catholic schools play public schools. In the state tournament. We're all together.
We see that a little bit now in our community here where some of the bigger private schools get an opportunity to play some of those, high schools have those 1 or 2 games that they can play out of conference.
Yeah.
And every once in a while we'll get a chance in our community to play, test our skills against some of the local public schools.
Sure.
So growing up in Ohio, you've had some amazing football players come out of that state.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody that you name that you got a chance to play with that you were just like, holy cow, this is an athlete?
Well, I played with 2 quarterbacks that were special, Josh Harris and Omar Jacobs at Bowling Green, they were really good football players.
Yeah.
Omar was in ESPN the magazine at one point in time, like with a very large article about him. Josh was featured on Game Day. Yeah, so I mean, they were 2 incredible football players that I watched play. And I'm sure I've played. Unfortunately, I'm missing probably quite a few that I've played against, played with, right?
Yeah.
But I've seen a lot of great players play.
So when you look at an athlete, and even yourself as anybody who plays at the collegiate level,
mm-hmm.
and knowing that funnel to get to the professional level like the NFL,
mm-hmm.
It's a pretty special caliber person, and most of those people who make it to that level, you find that they have a little to no life outside of football, outside of their sport of choice to make it to that level, that the commitment, that the dedication that goes on. I'm not saying they don't have any
fun.
Any fun.
Right.
They're having a lot of fun. That's proof of that.
Yeah.
But the level of dedication that most of these athletes have, and also working in the tactical community now,
mm-hmm.
and you look at these stellar people, what did you find? What's in common? What do you see? What is the drive? What's that? If a person's saying, man, do I have what it takes to be successful? What do you see with most of these athletes?
I think there's, and this is going to sound like a cop-out, I think a little bit, like there's an inherent talent in both parties.
Okay.
Right? There's something deep inside that you really can't put your finger on, but when you see it, you know it.
Yeah.
There's also there's a drive to really dive into the craft, right? So you look at really, really good football players, like they will watch film nonstop. They will watch film all the time. They'll train extra. They'll do extra practice. They'll do these little things, right? They can teach you the game almost, right? I see that all the time on both facets.
So if we were going linebacker, your personal opinion, a guy who studied the craft, who you tried to emulate as a player, maybe you looked up to as a player.
It's easy for me.
Okay.
Yeah, his name's Chris Spielman.
Chris Spielman, yeah.
He was one of the greatest linebackers at The Ohio State University, right? But he
how would I have guessed that you wouldn't have said, who was at Michigan that was a really good...
Exactly. Next question. See how easy that was?
Easy. Move on, right?
You can't tell me because you don't know.
Yeah, I can't remember one.
They're not quite known for their defenses, right?
Yeah.
They have one.
Dude, we're going to have some hate mail from this one.
Yeah. Charles Woodson, congratulations, right? Unbelievable player, also from Ohio, just so everybody's clear.
I forgot that.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're testing my football knowledge today. That's good.
No, that's
which is easy to do. I'm going to get a big F.
But at the end of the day, like guys like that, and I'll tell you what, like, I know you said that those guys have great commitment. Like, there's a number of guys who are talented enough to get to the league without having commitment, right? They'll get there. But I will tell you that the ones who stay, that the great ones, it's nonstop, it's 24/7, and it's all they do. That's what they think about.
But Spielman, correct me if I'm wrong here, he walked away from the game pretty healthy because of family, right? Like he wanted to take care of his...
He was actually not healthy. So very interesting story.
Okay.
So he took a pause. His wife had breast cancer.
Right.
And he actually came back. And so he was actually ending up his career with the Cleveland Browns.
Yeah.
I remember reading the article, right? He, like his whole right side of his body was numb. And
Jeez.
they asked how long, and he'd be like, "It's been about 6 weeks," and he said, "I just thought it would go away." That's who that guy is.
Wow.
Right. He's an intense individual. I've gotten to talk to him a couple times. Like, he won't know who I am, but I remember talking to him as a kid. Like,
Chris Aaron's on the KP's Black Box today.
Yeah. So he's. I just remember watching him as a kid. Right. So it was.
He was an amazing linebacker.
Yep.
Yeah. Did you like Mike Singletary? Chance?
Absolutely. Like, I think that's, if you want to talk to me about
Ray Lewis,
like what people are missing, like
Yeah.
what this generation is missing, is that when you start talking football history, they can't speak to it. Like when you start talking about Mike Singletary, right, Dick Butkus, right, Ray Nitschke,
right?
You talk about these legends in the game that they couldn't tell you who they are. Like,
Yeah.
like that's the stuff to beat. Now again, I'm gonna.
Did you like Brian Bosworth back in the day? You remember him?
If I had a 6-year-old picture of me, I would show you a rat tail and steps in the side of my head.
Okay.
Because I had my hair cut just like Brian Bosworth. Yeah.
Dang. But you do remember Brian Bosworth, Bo Jackson?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Bo Jackson was the best player in Tecmo Bowl, by far.
Wasn't he? Was just,
by far.
I saw last night, I watched, there was something, it wasn't last night, maybe it was Saturday, ESPN, and they were doing some flashbacks of Deion Sanders against Bo Jackson in Kansas City, and then they showed a clip in football. Man, Bo knows.
Bo knows. Yeah, Bo knows for sure.
If you don't know who we're talking about, look up Bo Jackson, Deion Sanders, and those clips. Man, two great athletes, two great football players, two great baseball players.
Absolutely. Yep.
And the work ethic to play two professional sports.
Yeah.
Mind-boggling for me.
But it's something to be in awe of. Like it's an absolute display of unbelievable athleticism.
Yeah.
Right. And there's no denying it. They're both Hall of Famers. I mean.
Right.
Yeah.
So another player that comes to mind too, Herschel Walker. I know he was a Georgia guy, not a.
Yeah.
But just I'm thinking of guys who had this work ethic.
Sure.
You're talking about.
Yeah.
That, Herschel Walker. Again, I don't know him. I've just what I've read. But as a strength and conditioning coach, I could imagine that Herschel would have been a little bit of a nightmare because he's just genetic machine.
Sure.
Who does 10 push-ups and like he's good for the day, it seems like he was doing push-ups and this polymetric stuff, and
sure,
he would just get bigger, stronger, faster, and so he wasn't a guy you'd have to worry about. So genetics, and I'm sure your wife can speak to this from a dietary point of view. Were there kids that you've coached along the way that you just look at the genes? Like,
I would venture to say the majority of them.
Okay.
Right? I mean, I'll be honest, I've made no athletes better. Their genes have, right? I've simply showed them a path, right?
Yeah.
Now, I mean, you have...
So there's no effing hope for me then.
I'm sorry. Like, blame your mom and dad.
Freaking idiot.
Right? But so, like, at the end of the day, genes have a lot to do with it, right?
Yeah.
Genes have a lot to do with how big you're going to be, how strong you're going to be, how fast you're going to be, how tall you're going to be, right?
How good looking you are.
There's nothing to say that you can't outwork those things, right?
Yeah.
But just it makes the road that much longer, and especially when you're dealing with somebody like that who has both genes and work ethic.
Yeah.
Watch out. That's going to be hard to catch up to.
Is it frustrating as a coach when you were working with players who had the genes but had no work ethic? Would you keep them around, or would you say, hey, head coach, this dude does not want to do his routine. He does not want to work out.
It would depend, right? It would depend. Like if he's a cancer to the team, like you have to make those real hard decisions, right? I mean, those are difficult decisions you have to make, but every team has to make them. You have to decide if it's worth it, right?
So, like back in the day, Allen Iverson took a lot of flack for just saying it was practice, and it was taken out of context a little bit. But
certainly,
he didn't have a reputation for really putting out hard in practice. But the dude could show up game time.
So, but you're also talking about professional. Professional is a different animal.
Okay.
That's a money game. That's professional. You're
right.
getting paid to do it.
All right.
So,
all right.
yeah,
I'll give you that.
You want to do that, fine. In college, it's not the same thing. In college, you're sitting there with a group of kids who you might have one kid who gets a sniff at the NFL. Now, at the big boys, right, at your Clemsons, your LSUs, your Alabamas, you'll have quite a few kids that do, right? But still, when you think about it, right, you still have a few guys out there who aren't going to the league. I don't care how much they try, they're not going, right? But at the same time, you can't have an organization like that doesn't function well, right? That has bad apples, that has bad seeds, and be successful over time. Over time, it will get you. Culture will win.
Yeah.
At the end of the day.
Yeah.
Right? And so you have to decide, that kid with talent, you have to give him time. Because understand, they're 18 to 22-year-old kids. You have to give them time to mature. You have to give them chances, multiple, right? They're young. They're, like science says, their frontal cortex is not developed.
It's not developing until like 25, right? Fully.
So at the end of the day, like it's your job to help that kid become a better human. Right?
Yeah.
And you have to give them chances to screw up. We all screw up, right? But at the same time, at some point, you have to make a stand.
So when you were at Florida and you were there twice, I think I asked Cheryl this. Were you there during the Tebow and Urban Meyer days?
So I was there with Coach Meyer.
Okay.
I missed Tim by 1 year. I was there once when we were recruiting Tim, and then I was there after he was gone.
How about Percy Harvin? Good old local boy here, Virginia Beach.
So both, right? So I missed him by a year as well, and then I remember recruiting Percy Harvin when I was there as an intern in 2005.
I watched that kid play in high school.
Yeah.
Just the speed at which he moved, and not just 0 to 60, but his movement on the field, sideways, forward, backwards, was unbelievable. But he was a guy that was accused of having the genes, but not having the attitude. And again, I don't know if you want to speak to that or say that is that an example of a kid who,
like, and I'm not going to get into that too deep, but at the same time, like, just from outside knowledge, right? I'm not going to sit there. I know intimate knowledge about it because I really don't.
Yeah.
Right. But at the end of the day, right, the NFL would tell you that that's probably accurate. I mean, that's pretty much what happened in the league.
Well, he got moved around a lot, right?
Yeah. I mean, it gets discovered one way or the other, right? It's going to be found out. It's a tale as old as time, right?
Yeah.
Like, there's an unbelievable, I think Harry Truman had a great quote about it, right? Like, men with talent they're everywhere, right?
Yeah.
They're a dime a dozen. There's unbelievable. Has-beens, should-have-beens, could-have-beens, right? But if you don't figure that out in time, sorry.
So it sounds to me like you're saying that you would take a team full of guys with heart over genes.
I would take a team any day of the week with 3 stars than I would ever take a team full of 5 stars.
Wow. Okay,
because
so you got to expand on that a little bit.
Because, the star system is how they rank players, right? Okay, 5 stars are your best. And I will tell you, I think that honestly, and this is my opinion, is that for every 5-star you get, you better have 2 or 3 3-stars. Guys that are hungry, guys with chips on their shoulders.
Yeah.
Guys that haven't been given everything, right? Because the odds are those guys are going to work themselves into 5 stars. Because, again, remember, they're 18 to 22 years old. They're going to mature.
Yeah.
One way or the other. And everybody matures at different rates.
Yeah.
You never know what you're going to get that way.
So if you look back, let's talk about this from like a career change point of view, and not necessarily your career. We're going to avoid talking about your tactical world today, purposely. But some of your other friends you played football with, and trying to take this team spirit, this athletic mindset, this mentality that most athletes have. A lot of athletes will leave the playing field and go into another profession and have either uber success or massive failure, has been my experience. Where one, they either can make that transition into the public financial arena in whatever field, whether it be real estate, stocks, bonds, mutual funds, whatever, pick their poison, but do a really good job of making that transition. And then there are those who just fail miserably because that behavior mindset they had on the football field, they didn't find a way to redefine that in their second career. Help me in your mindset. what made you as this good, and I don't want to bust your balls here, and I can say this as a guy who didn't make it at the collegiate level. You did. But you went from high school, you made this transition, you made it through finding a way to be on the field.
Yep.
And for me, I was that kid who was like, dude, if I can't be the fullback or the outside line, if I can't get a starting position, I don't want to play. Wham, right?
Yep.
But you had this drive to say, I just want to be on the field. I don't care where the coach puts me, is what it sounds like.
That's
Do I have
exactly
that
right? Yep.
So transition that as a strength coach, leaving the football field, you didn't, I don't know that you made it to the next level. Did you even try?
No.
No combine or anything like that for you?
No.
Okay, I had the combo. I upsized my combo, not
I'm
my
with you.
Yeah,
I understand that. Yeah, no.
So
I got it.
I'm gonna go to lunch. I'm gonna get some chunky monkey. So when you walked away from football and said, "Okay, I'm hanging up the cleats," and you transitioned into strength and conditioning to coach these young players, what was that transition like, and was there a mental shift for you?
I think it prepared me more than anything, right? Because you have to remember again who I played for. I played for arguably one of the greatest coaches of all time, in my opinion, and Coach Meyer. I think that
is that because he was at Ohio State for a little while? You're saying that?
Certainly not. Right? Certainly not. He was on his way there well before Ohio State.
Yeah.
However, he is from Ohio as well. But I think what's important to understand is
Urban
is he set a tone early on in my life that was actually fostered through high school and really, to be honest with you, through grade school. Right? It just fed right in.
Urban Meyer set this tone.
Urban did, right? But then I also had other coaches, right? I had coaches from a young age, from high school into grade school, that it was reciprocal. It was just went all the way back to everything I've been taught from a kid, right? Yeah. And it just was elevated that much more. And so when you know that, you know what to expect. And then I go to my first, we'll call it internship at Florida, and I know what to expect because I've been there and I've done it, and I know what success looks like in that program and what I expect to see. And then you go back there in somewhat of a full-time capacity, and again, I know what I expect, I know what I want to see. So it makes it easy to transition into those things. It makes it easy to then transition from player to coach, right? And it also makes it easy because I've done it, right? I could sit there and say, like, look, you can tell me it's hard all day, but I've seen it done. Yeah. I've seen other people do it. I know you can do it. You got to want to do it, right? So that's probably what made that transition so smooth, so easy, right? There's plenty of people that quit, right? And I'll be honest, like I took a hiatus at one point in time for about a year and a half. I got out of it, right? You can get burnt out on it. You want to talk about making money in that profession. You don't. Yeah. You don't until you get up there into the upper echelons, right? Because I'll tell you what, like I went to Bowling Green. I worked for free for 6 months or so, right?
Wow.
Worked for free for 6 months. Was in it. GA, didn't really make much of anything, right? Made it work. Got to my first...
A GA, you said?
Yeah, I was a graduate assistant.
Graduate assistant, okay.
That's kind of how you have to do it,
right?
I go to my next job. I think I made $12,000 a year with no benefits.
Jeez.
Right? Sleeping on couches. My next job, my first full-time job, I made $22,000 a year, right? With benefits this time, which was awesome, right? Go to the next one. I took a pay cut to go to a bigger school, right? So I made $19,000. And this wasn't like it was in 1992. This was in 2008, 2009, right? And so at the time, you have to pay your dues and pay your dues.
Make me drink here, man.
Dues,
jeez, that's horrible.
And eventually you get to that point, right? And so that's what I tell any young strength coach trying to get into the business, right? Be prepared. And you're going to have people that would...
and your wife was in the collegiate level too, going through that same sacrifice, right?
She was. Nutrition works a little bit different, right? But at the same time, like nutrition was kind of a new thing. So it was different for her at the time, right? We were just dating at the time, but but she got paid a little bit differently, and her road was different.
Yeah.
But there's so many guys that want to get into college strength coaching. It's highly competitive, right?
Yeah.
And you have to be willing to do a lot of things others aren't willing to do.
So what sets aside a strength coach when, and this is the same thing can be said about the financial services industry, what sets aside the CFP from the CFA and all these designations, the alphabet soup.
Mm-hmm.
And you have your master's in
higher
education, and then you have your strength and conditioning certification.
Right.
What is that acronym again?
So it's the SCCC, right?
Yeah.
So it's Strength and Conditioning Coach Certified, and that's through an organization called the CSCCA.
Okay.
That's one
Yeah.
that you can get. The other one that you can get is your CSCS, and that's through the NSCA. Those are the two kind of
sanctioning organizations,
right,
pretty much.
Basically. There's another couple that are recognized, but I wouldn't say they're recognized widely by strength coaches, right? Those are kind of the two. Yeah. Because I have my SCCC, I will tell you that it's the gold standard for it because it's pretty intensive. You have to do a 480-hour internship, which turns out to be a semester before you're allowed to sit for the exam, right? And so...
Is there a lot of physiology in that, like understanding?
So there is. What I like to say is, and when I hired people, like not having a certification tells me a lot. Having the certification doesn't tell me much, right? Like it tells me you can read a book, right, and regurgitate some information. You can write programs, stuff like that. You coaching is a different animal, right? That's why I like to be called a strength coach. I'm not a personal trainer.
Okay.
I'm not. There's a difference between.
And so define those two for me. If someone says, "Hey, man, can you help me out, Aaron, with my strength and conditioning as a 50-year-old versus a 30-something?"
Sure, and I can do that, right?
Okay.
I can do those things, right? But at heart, I'm a coach, right?
Okay.
So I am a guy who's going to be on the floor, watching things, coaching you through stuff, and then a coach is even more than that, right? A coach just isn't. He's just not there to put together plans for you and programs for you, right? I tell people that all the time. Like, I can teach a monkey to write a program. Like, you can go work at 24-Hour Fitness and learn to write programs. Like, programming is not coaching. There's a distinct difference between the two, right? When you're training a room full of 25, 30 guys at a time, right? Or I have a team lift going on where everybody's training at once. Like, it's a delicate dance. You better be able to handle that. See it, know what's happening, know who's skipping, know who's missing reps, know who's not working like they should, and you're in charge of all that stuff. That's coaching, right?
Yeah.
And then coaching is also being able to have personal relationships with people to the point where, again, you're wearing multiple hats for kids, right? So you're a dad for a lot of them. You're a positive male role model. You're a psychiatrist at sometimes, right? You are just a friend, if you need to be, right?
Can we say positive male role model now without getting somebody fussing us? What if they are like gender neutral and they're like, I'm just messing with you, man.
That's on them.
Freaking idiot.
I don't know.
That was for me.
It's all good.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you, it's that's the difference between the two, right? And I think that people miss that a lot.
Yeah.
Right? They'll call me a trainer. I am not.
Yeah.
One, I don't tape ankles. Two,
they call Zach over here trainee, but that's a little different than trainer.
I get it.
Yeah, right.
I understand. But at the same time, like, can I do that? Can I tell people, teach people how to better themselves? Absolutely. And to be honest with you, I like to do it.
Yeah.
Right?
So take me back to this thought process: training, coaching an individual versus coaching a group of men, whether it be tactically or a football team or a basketball team for that matter. What's different for a coach? How are you approaching the individual versus the team?
So a team has a culture, has a lifeblood of its own, right? Has a culture you're trying to establish, maintain, right? And when you're approaching individuals, right, it's a lot more goal-oriented, goal-based for that personal individual. I'm not saying that there aren't goals for individuals on the team, but for the most part, it's about the team.
Yeah.
It's individuals, it's about them, right? So really, like that's how you have to approach it. You have to see what they want, how they're gonna, what they want to do, what they want to get better at, right, and that type of thing.
So when you're thinking about it in this world now, from sports to tactical, does the team have to understand their weakness and their strength and condition? Like, if you've got a bunch of guys who cannot lift up a log to move to the next position, you got to know, okay, well, if we can't move it, can we roll it? Can we push it? Is that so? Understanding the team's strength, or kind of this, you remember the old, in your part of your master's program, the whole SWOT analysis: strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats.
Yep. I mean, I would say that you take a step back at the end of every year and you look at what you need, what you're missing, right? And everything is it is very much thought out. Like, it's thought out from not only the list we're doing, but down to what the lifting group's going to be that day. Who's going to be with who's interact with who's following who around, who's your lifting partner today, right? So, I mean, you're thinking about all that stuff, right?
Which becomes part of the coaching of trusting the teammate, right?
Right. And you try to figure out, like, hey, we need to find out who leaders are, or these two can't be together because I need them to be with people who are going to lead them more down the right path, right?
Yeah.
They try to be, good role models. So you're playing a lot of chess the whole time, trying to figure out team dynamics. Team dynamics are difficult. They're not easy. You see them everywhere.
Yeah.
I don't care if you're in an organization, right, or a business or a team, right, an athletic team. It's the same thing, right? The team dynamics are important. Selection is important, right? So you need to make sure that you have people that fit your organization however they need to.
So when you're thinking about this from strength and conditioning, you've got two young men in your house, 3 and 4.
Yeah.
If we were talking to dads out there working with their sons who maybe are trying to get them ready for the potential to be a collegiate athlete, everybody wants little Johnny and Susie to get a scholarship now. It's one way to pay for school, right?
Right.
And we live in this world now where everybody gets a trophy, which we're trying to balance that. So what are you going to tell your boys as they grow up in strength and conditioning, the mental play, how they eat? And we had talked about that earlier, kind of the 80-20, like the moderation, I guess, is what you're pointing out there. From a strength and conditioning coach, and you have a young dad with a 3 and a 4-year-old, when do you start these young bucks on a training program?
So it's interesting you asked that, because I had my 4-year-old ask me the other day if he could start training with me.
No way.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So, and it was awesome. And, my response to him was, well, buddy, we're going to talk about that. I have to think about what the rules are going to be.
You didn't say to him,
"You think anybody wants a roundhouse kick to the face while I'm wearing these bad boys?"
I tell him that when it's just every day.
That's right.
Like, it's not I don't save that, right?
I was looking for the opportunity to use
it's constant.
Napoleon Dynamite.
Right. But at the same time, like, so, what I've decided is that there's going to be rules in the house for that. And I would stress to any parent who's training their kid, this be the same thing, right? That there's going to be rules, but at the same time, you have to understand that they're your kids first, right? Now, for me, it's a little bit different. It's my profession. It's what I've chosen to do. So, like, my rules are going to be, like, you can't quit in the middle of a workout. Like, you're going to finish your workout. If you don't want to work with me again after the session, you don't have to, right? But we're not going to quit in the middle, right?
What a great lesson right there. I love that.
We're not going to we're going to do it how I want to do it. We're going to do it the right way. Right?
You're the coach,
right? And
follow the program.
That's how we're going to go about it, right? And I do want him to have the freedom to say, "Dad, I don't want you to coach me anymore." So I will give him the opportunity, right? And I know that it might cost more, but at some point in time, I would be like, if you want to go train with somebody, fine, right? If it's not me, fine. I understand, right? It's going to be very difficult because I also know myself.
Yeah.
I know that once I start to coach, I am going to go in coach mode. It's instinctive. I don't think about it, right? So it's on me just as much as on him to do what I ask. And I think that we forget about that as parents, right? Is that it's easy training your kid to say, I want you to do this. Why aren't you doing it hard enough? You don't put yourself in their position a little bit, right? Which can be difficult.
I love that what you just said, though, Aaron, because I think that can be applied across the board in anything in life. That, and and this is something I've tried to help my kids and hopefully will help my grandkids with, is that we can put an F on it, right? We can say you failed, and it's okay to fail. But it's not okay to put a Q on it.
There's no doubt.
We're not quitting. You can fail. You can get dropped. My son's working through this right now in one of the courses that he's in the military, where he had a setback. And, he's wanting to be one of these special people
in
the military. And he had a setback. But what I respect and what happened with him, he didn't quit. But it was just a time where he goes, hey, right now, this is not for you. But it wasn't him going, and no disrespect to dudes that have rang the bell.
Sure.
But it happens. But the big thing in life, the big takeaway that I'm hearing from you, whether it be in football or whether it be tactical or whether it be in anything in life you choose to do, fail at it all you want. Just don't quit.
There's no question. So what you're speaking to right now is you're speaking to the mantra of why you're a strength coach, why you should be a strength coach, right? And you asked before, like, what separates a good from a bad? I'll tell you exactly what, right? If you're obsessed with nothing but winning, you will fail as a strength coach. I will guarantee it.
Yeah.
That if you put all your stock in faith in wins and losses, you will fail, right?
Interesting.
If you want to be a really good strength coach, all you really want to do is make that guy a better human. You want to show him the value of never quitting, of doing more than he thought was humanly possible, of pushing himself to limits he didn't think he could go, of understanding that he has decisions and choices in his life and his education, because believe it or not, a lot of these kids have never been told that before.
Yeah.
Right? At the end of the day, that you could push these kids to be better humans. You could teach them to show up on time. Right?
How do you figure out when they're sandbagging, though? They're not quitting, but they're going, I'm not pushing.
You get to know kids well enough, and you can see it. I mean, it's not as hard as you think, but being a good coach is also being a good observer. And you observe enough, and you watch enough, and you can tell when somebody's going and when they're not. And you should be able to tell when they're hurt and when they're not, and when it's too much, right?
So we were talking about this before we started the show, and working out. So let's spend a little bit of time there.
Yeah.
And I have some interest in this because I was sharing with you that at 50 I get the workout flu often. And what you explained to me is the workout flu is really called DOMS. So explain what DOMS is.
So delayed onset muscle soreness is what DOMS stands for.
Okay.
DOMS occurs 24 to 48 hours post-strenuous exercise, right? And for most of us, even after being sedentary for a while, right? That means just taking time off and getting back into it. You're going to
like 5 years.
Yep. I mean, you're going to experience soreness coming back. And at the end of the day, all it means is that you probably went a little too hard, right? Being good sore is good, right? Being DOMS sore is probably not. Now, it depends on where you are. There is sometimes you're going to get DOMS, and you want to get those effects, right? Because maybe you've been working towards one or at maxes and stuff like that. The problem is that when it happens to you when you first get back into training, odds are you're not going to train again because it didn't make it fun.
So that's what's killing me right now in complete transparency, is that I'll get into a routine and I start back and I might make it to my third workout.
Yeah.
And I'm having to take I'm embarrassed to tell you this, I'm having to take like a week off.
Yep.
Because I am just, my muscles are like, what the hell did you just do to me?
So, I think the most important thing to do then is to take a step back and don't go as hard.
Yeah.
But
I feel like I'm sandbagging. So that's
it's not a question of can you go harder. It's a question of limiting intensities, right?
Yeah.
You know as well as I do that if I'm in a sports car and I hit the gas and I go 0 to 60, I can do that so many times. But if I do it too many times, I'm probably going to blow a gasket.
Right.
I'm going to have some engine issues, things like that.
Yeah.
I want to slow burn into this. It's a marathon, not a sprint, right? So it's going to be slow going. I tell people all the time, like, it's not a Rocky training montage, right?
Right.
It's not going to be this, here I go, I'm getting back into it, running up mountains, right? lifting rocks and stuff. Like, it is a slow burn. It's very, very slow to get back into it. And it's a hard thing for people to do because you have to check your ego.
So a lot of my client base is my age or older,
Yep.
right? I'm working with a lot of retirees, pre-retirees, business owners. But young people like listening to, this type of banter back and forth.
Sure.
So first, talking to this audience of middle-aged men, middle-aged women, is there a chance to maintain muscle mass or add muscle mass, reduce body fat as you start hitting that age of, the late 40s, early 50s, moving into the 60s?
Yes.
Without HGH, without testosterone?
Yes, there is, right? Now, let's be very clear here, okay? You're probably not going to end up with washboard abs. You're probably not going to end up... Yeah, I know.
Nothing. I've got nothing.
Hey, kids, watch my finger.
I don't even know what that is. I'm just so disappointed.
Yeah. So, I mean, therein lies the rub, right?
Yeah.
But I think it's imperative.
You think anybody wants a roundhouse kick to the face while I'm wearing these
At
bad
50
boys?
years old.
There's no question.
Yeah. Shit.
But I think at the end...
I'm not talking to you anymore, dude.
But
You're
it-
just skilled.
But at the end of the day, what
All
you're
right.
really looking at is, I think it's critical for you to be able to stay mobile, right? I tell a lot of older people this that I've worked with, like, mobility is freedom. Once you lose mobility, you no longer have freedom. You can't go on the hike with your grandkids or with your wife. You can't go walk around for an entire day because you hurt too bad, right?
You can't get on the second rung of the pool step at your father-in-law's house and it snap.
Exactly.
Embarrassing story. Literally this weekend, I have my grandson, Moses, up there on the wall. I have Moses on my shoulders. We're having a great time in the pool, and I actually did a backflip, right? Would you consider it a backflip? Right before this. So I'm getting out of the pool all cocky, feeling great about my backflip at 50 years old. I go to step one. There's 3 steps on this ladder to get out of the pool. Step 1, no problem. Moses on my shoulders. We're going to get out of the pool, and we're going to do a fun jump out of the pool together. Step 2, step right in the middle of this plastic ladder, rated for 350 in its early days, snaps at 250 pounds, and from my kneecap down to my big middle toe is not pretty. It's pretty ugly.
Yeah.
And all I could think about was, you fat son of a gun. You about killed your grandson, and now I'm walking around with a gimp leg. So in all seriousness, though, so at 50, what kind of hope do I have for fitness and what I could get my body to free of drugs and just keeping it real?
No, I think a lot more than you think. And I think it takes a lot less than you think, right? So you talk about having DOMs, right? And I have this argument with people all the time, right? What do you think about CrossFit? What do you think about high intensity? What do you think about Peloton class? What do you think about... I don't care. I don't care. First and foremost, what are you going to do consistently?
Got to move.
I don't care what it is. Like, what are you going to plan on doing consistency? Let's talk about you being consistent in your training, and then let's talk about how.
What
you're
would
training.
Consistency be for the older age group? 3 days a week, 5 days a week?
It depends on what you want to do, right? So, yes, you could train 5 days a week. You train 6 days a week, right? You could train 2 days a week and see results, right?
Hot damn.
Okay. But it depends on what you want your results to be and how drastic you want those results to be, right?
Okay.
So that's all going to depend.
So you're in your 30s now?
It will be 39 in August.
39.
Yeah.
Okay. Cheers to you, man.
Yeah, terrifying is what that is.
It's okay. 50, terrifying.
Okay.
Where you're at, nightmare.
Okay.
Right? So with the 3 and a 4-year-old, maybe terrifying.
Yep.
But I can remember those days. So give me an idea for a strength and conditioning coach, 39 years old, what your daily routine for fitness looks like.
So I work out 6 days a week.
Okay.
Okay. The setup that's always worked for me, and I've done it forever, right? And I do change it up occasionally, but I'll always go back to this, is I lift 3 days a week. I do some type of cardiovascular 3 days a week.
Okay.
And that's worked for me for a very long time.
And about how long are you at a high level of fitness, or
How long am I training? Like, what's a
an
training
hour, 45 minutes.
Like an hour is pretty standard. An hour and 15 minutes is good, right?
Okay. Is that 15 minutes like warm up on either side, cool
usually
down?
takes warm ups, cool downs, or I might be doing like a metabolic finisher or something like that.
What does that mean?
That means like I'm crushing my soul. Like
Metabolic finisher.
Yeah, I have a problem, like most strength coaches do. If I don't crawl out of a weight room or something like that, I probably don't. So
See, now you're killing me again.
Yeah,
Aaron.
but I am your absolute, like, I am a teacher in that here's what I need you to do. I need you to do what I say. Don't do what I do.
Okay.
Right. But at the same time, I've had to get away from some of that because I've been training for some other things lately. So, we'll see kind of how it plays out.
Okay.
So,
Well, how about your wife? So your wife's like 19, right? So
she is not. She's not 19. She is.
I'm trying to get brownie points here. So
She is
I
younger
wanna
than
come on
I am,
the
though.
podcast. Okay.
Right.
All right. Sweet.
I'll leave it at that.
I saw her on video.
Yeah.
So you married up just like I did. Good for you.
There is no question.
That's right.
I am not the brains or the beauty of the family. Right. She wins.
Beauty and the Beast. Right.
So she trains. She trains at least 3 days a week, if not 4.
Okay.
Right. And she probably wishes she could.
She
train
would
6.
probably fuss at both of us to say that with a 3 and a 4-year-old, she's training like 23 hours a day.
There's no question.
Yeah.
There's no doubt. Like, where do you need me? Okay, sounds good. I'll do it. Right. So, God bless her. But at the end of the day, like, that's how much she trains. So I don't.
And ladies' ability to hold like this position for
Absolutely.
hours on end, like in the cradle, in the bicep flex.
Yeah, I don't get it. I can't do it.
Yeah.
Like
Isn't it crazy?
I'll put my kids down in a hurry.
Right.
But she'll hold them a long time. Like, I'm good. But I will tell you, I think, and I don't want to make it seem like it's impossible. I think even at older ages, like, you can still put on muscle. It's critical, right? It's even critical for bone mass. Like, resistance training is critical, and that's probably the biggest mistake I see most people make. Like, I love the fact that I see people out running or walking when that's all I see them do, right? But at the same time, like, once you get consistent with that, you need to start resistance training. You can't just go jog. You can't just go Peloton. Like, you need to resistance train for your musculoskeletal system, right? And really, at the end of the day, it's just going to help you with your longevity.
So resistance training, again, picking heavy things up and setting them down?
It doesn't even have to be that drastic, right? I mean, that sounds like
band work, like
band works, all that kind of stuff, right?
Polymetrics, is that still a thing?
So plyometrics,
what?
Yeah.
What is polyplastic?
So plyometrics really is nothing that I think I would never recommend it.
I make up words every once in a while.
That's all good.
So
that's why I'm here.
Yeah.
Right. So
to make up words with me.
Exactly.
Yeah, right.
So at the end of the day, like plyometrics really
say I got you saying it now.
Become about they're about athleticism, agility, right? Improving coordination, jumping. There's some power stuff to it, but at the end of the day, like, it's probably not what you're in line for. As you get older, right? You're lifting for health, right? So at the same time, like, you have to do work consistently is number one. Number two, add resistance training. Like, I don't care if you love to run, great. Run 4 days a week. Lift at least 2.
Yeah.
Right? Or if you only want to train 5 days a week, great. Lift 2 days a week. Run 3. Right? And it doesn't have to be much. It can be simple circuits, right? And it doesn't need to be too involved.
Any science to it? Should be 2 sets, 5 sets, 10 sets?
There is science to it, right? But I think that when you're talking about getting started, getting into it, it's really like you can never go wrong with 2 to 3 sets of 8 to 10 reps, right? And if you have especially if you haven't trained at all, right? You could probably go a little bit heavier on the volume, right? Pushing to 15s and things like that, just to get started. Now I'm talking about people who are fairly sedentary and don't do a lot, right? And have to get started.
Fat bastards.
That's where you start, right? But again, if you decide to go whole hog, right? Push it hard and heavy, I guarantee you're going to end up with DOMs, and I guarantee you odds are you're going to stop doing it.
So what I'd like to do one day is we'll bring a camera,
okay?
And would you do a workout with me and show me what you do in an
Certainly.
old man. We'll add it to the podcast here.
I have no problem doing that.
And then we'll have Zach over here behind the camera who thinks he's a stud in the gym. Yeah, he did. He's like, this dude Aaron's coming in. Let's do a push-up contest.
Let's do a lift off.
Yeah, I was like, you don't want to do that, Zach. But all right. See, I told you.
Yeah. See.
So-
I can appreciate that.
So in all seriousness, it would be cool, I think, if we could grab some video and just, if you're up for it,
Yeah.
Showing me some things you would do for a 50-year-old,
Yeah. Absolutely.
for sedentary, just chunky monkey kind of guy.
It's a lot simpler than you think, and I don't think you need as much equipment as most people do.
Yeah.
Right. And I would say this to you, like home gyms are a great thing, especially in the age of COVID. Right.
Yeah.
Home gyms are awesome, but
I put one in there.
but good luck. Like if you're trying to find one now, good luck finding stuff. It's gone. Like,
Yeah. Isn't it
everywhere's
crazy?
gone. So it's all good, right? So all that stuff's gone. So you might have to go join a gym. But if you're only going to work out, if you have to go to a gym, join a gym. If you have the discipline to work out in your house, right, and it's not going to become a clothes rack,
Yeah.
right, then by all means work out in your home. You don't need as much. As you think.
So obviously you're training and working with this very high-speed tactical world, but on the other side, when you bring it back to call it the average Joe.
Yep.
No pun intended. From what was that movie? Average Joe's. Anyway. Dodgeball.
There it is.
That's it. Don't hit me with my movie trivia. It's horrible. But if you're really just trying to keep your body mobile, stay healthy, what type of routine are you saying for that person who's like, you know what, I've talked to my doctor. I know I need to be moving. I need to stay in motion. What type of routine are you coaching that person to do?
So people don't really like my answer to this because, again, especially if they were ex-athletes, former athletes, they find...
You're going to hurt my feelings again?
Like, literally, start by going to walk for 45 minutes 3 days a week.
Okay.
Right? And then lift basic lifts. Do it.
And what would you define a basic lift?
So I'm going to try to make it as simple as I possibly can.
Yeah.
It is do a squatting movement.
Okay.
A hinging movement.
What does that mean?
Right. A hinging movement is something like an RDL, right?
What is an RDL?
A glute bridge.
What is a glute bridge?
This is what YouTube's for.
There you go.
Right? Okay.
All right. RDL. What are you guys laughing
It's
at? Do you know
called a
what
hinge.
these are?
I'll tell you
a
what.
Hinge.
Just say
movement.
a hinge movement, right?
Okay.
So a squat, a hinge,
Okay.
a push,
Got it.
and a pull.
And a push and a pull. All right.
Right? A push
So
and
like a
pull is
bench
easy.
press,
Push.
a push up, a pull up.
Is a pull,
Okay.
right?
Some bent rows,
Which is a
pull.
there it is.
Yeah. Got it.
There it is, right?
But I'm all right. I'm stuck on hinge, like a lunge,
Nope. It's a squatting movement,
a squatting movement.
right?
What? What are you saying back there? Curls? That's a hinge?
No.
See,
Hinge would be like a deadlift or a glute bridge or...
a deadlift is a hinge?
Yes.
Okay.
So again, at the end of the day, YouTube.
YouTube. All right.
But once you figure out like what those things are, right? And really, there's a ton of things that fit in those categories. Like that is a basic plan right there.
Okay.
Right? So squat, hinge, push, pull, and then you could get in some type of a core movement, some type of rotational core movement, right?
You don't have to do a lot of abs anymore. I've read that a few times. Like
Yeah, I mean,
guys are blasting their abs with crunches and knee ups.
It gets really deep, right? You have to be able to activate core, things like that, right? And that's stuff that I could try to talk through, but it's really hard to do without being able to show it, right?
Would you be up for that? Like if we got a camera out one day and we brought you into my home gym and said, all right, Aaron, walk me through some hinges, some pushes, some pulls.
Sure.
Would you do that?
Yeah, I got no problem
If
doing
I buy you some Johnny?
Yeah, deal.
Oh, done.
Done.
Easy day.
Done. Yeah, no, it's fine. Because I think at the end of the day, being able to do some simple things like that set people off on the right path. Now,
Please don't embarrass me on camera. You promise that, though?
Done.
I've got some
Now,
Marine
I
buddies out
I
there
might
that
have
would
to-
love to see me.
I might have to coach you up
barf.
through some things, right? And again, that's not the point.
Yeah.
Right? That's not the goal. The goal is not to make you throw up, right?
Yeah.
Now, again, you want to talk about difference between training a general population and training athletes?
Yeah.
Like, there you go, right?
They got
like,
to barf.
Like, sometimes they do.
Yeah.
Like, there's a goal to hit. There is a level of fitness that we have to get to, and it's hard and it's tough. Like, I know we talked earlier about some mindset stuff. Like, you want to talk about mindset in a weight room? It's go time. Like, it is.
Yeah.
It is. Get ready to go after. You're going to go to battle with some weights, right? Or the weights are going to beat you. Like, it's that simple, right? It's all about mindset. That whole room is about mindset, and you can't come in there soft.
So when you're doing these movements of push, pull, hinge, squat, what level of intensity? So if I'm looking at weight,
so it just like I said, like when we're starting, when we're just getting back into it, it's very light. It's almost like this isn't very hard, and it shouldn't be, but progressively it should get hard. With somebody who is untrained, like simple, what they call like linear periodization works just fine, right? When we see linear periodization, all we're saying is every time we lift, we're going to use a process called progressive overload, and we're going to just go a little bit heavier, and a little bit heavier, and a little bit heavier, a little bit heavier, right? And you're just going to keep on climbing up that ladder, right? Before you know it, and if you think about it, right, if you follow progressive overload, I can overload in a lot of different ways. I can overload obviously with weight, right? But then I can overload with doing more.
Chunky monkey.
That's a different kind of overload.
All right.
Right?
Oh, you can see what's on my mind.
Right? But you can overload with...
Johnny Walker.
No.
I'm messing with this. You can't. I like the way you think.
No, actually, you probably can, right? Because you can drink a little bit more each day, and eventually you'll finish a bottle like by yourself in one sitting, right? It's tolerance. It's actually the exact same thing.
Got it. Now I'm tracking with it.
Right? So at the same time, like I can increase reps, I can increase sets, I can increase all kinds of things, right? If I'm being progressive.
So like the liver is evil and it must be punished. So you work through that progression of
building tolerance.
Building tolerance.
That's all your body's doing.
Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah.
So I was asking you earlier, and my clock went dead over there, which means we are getting close to our hour. We've gone over, but in this mindset world, you're always trying to exercise the mind too. And you were telling me about some pretty cool books you're reading right now.
Yep.
We like to always share with folks what's in your head. What are you reading?
So I actually just finished it yesterday. I have an Audible subscription. Do you do Audible?
Yeah.
Like, so I listen to it on the runs, then I have the paper copy for at home.
To go back and kind of...
So, like, I double dip. But I read The Splendid in the Vial by Erik Larson.
Erik Larson, Splendid in the Vial.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's about Churchill during the Blitz in London. And it's about how they kind of fostered their way through it. It's some unbelievable stuff at the end of the day.
See, there's a dude with grit. I'm not sure what his workout routines were like.
They actually detail it in the book that there is no working out whatsoever.
Okay.
And there is a tremendous amount of drinking that he does. Tremendous. And smokes a lot of cigars.
A lot of cigars, yeah.
He took 2 baths a day and wore kimonos around.
Dude, I want his routine.
Yeah, it'd be very interesting. He had meetings in his bathtub.
How old was Churchill when he passed? Do you remember?
I do not know. That's a great question.
You guys know? Zach, you want to fact check us on that?
I do think it's kind of interesting that at the end of the book, they talked about it. At the end of the war, they voted him out as prime minister, which is shocking because they thought he did a really good job, right? So it was kind of...
They're asking Siri over there, old church.
It's good.
How old was he? 90.
There you go.
Cigars, kimonos, liquor.
Yeah, lots of different kinds, too.
And I hear he liked the ladies a little bit, too, right?
They didn't really get into that. That's kind of interesting. They didn't really talk about that very much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he wasn't a big fan of Hitler.
No, really did not like him very much at all. No.
So I heard.
No.
Yeah.
No, but, it's his fortitude when pretty much everything said they should have surrendered.
Yeah.
Like, the odds were against them.
Right.
And he just refused. And the interesting part is the nation itself refused. That's what happened. It wasn't just him. The nation itself said, "Yeah, that's not going to."
That's that intestinal fortitude that I think you can't teach. The resolve just has to be there to not quit. That Q word.
Right.
You just got to stay at it. Yeah. And one of the things I learned, Aaron, in the Marine Corps was a couple things. Number one, the old saying, if you don't mind, it doesn't matter. Mind over matter.
Right.
And then one of the things I got from my mentor in the Marine Corps was, hey, Porter, just be smart enough to listen, but actually dumb enough to go do it and don't quit.
Right.
And so, applying that to my financial principles and in my financial practice to, working through like this whole COVID thing that we're all experiencing now is, hey, the rules have changed.
Yep.
Are we going to adapt to what has changed around us and overcome that? Or are we just going to give up, quit, and go, oh, well, COVID wins? Or are we going to go, hey, you know what? Let's adapt to these new rules, to these new, the new normal.
Right.
And overcome that. And so, you're thinking about these collegiate athletes that are going to potentially be facing either a shortened season or no season at all.
Right.
What are you hearing from your coaching friends at the collegiate level about what the season's going to be like?
There's a lot of, I think right now, there's a lot of trepidation in coming into the season, right? I know that the lower tiers have already said, like, we're not playing. The CAA announced, where JMU plays, has announced they're not going to have a conference schedule.
Just done.
What
happens to those players?
And that's the hard part. I put myself in their position. The difficult part is the NCAA will probably grant them waivers for another year. However, the problem becomes is that the university then has to fit the bill for their scholarships for the upcoming year. And unfortunately, that's probably not a reality for most of them. For most of them, that's probably done. I put myself in those kids' shoes a lot. It's very difficult. Now, as far as coaching goes, like, there's not only coaches that are going to get furloughed, right? Because what people don't understand is, like, yes, there's a lot of coaches that make a ton of money, right? And they'll be okay. Right, but you have a lot of people that are support staff that will not be okay.
They don't participate in that pool of massive income these elite coaches make.
Yeah, no, they don't, and it's going to be hard on them because I think that at the end of the day, like, if the revenue's not there, I don't know how they pay those people. I don't know how that works. So it's a very difficult time for them. So my heart goes out to those guys. Like, and they work so very hard, and they've worked very hard to get where they are. And it's just it's very difficult. I think I was talking to a friend today. Like, at the end of the day, though, I hate to call it the new normal because I don't think it is. I think this is a pause, is what it is. I think we will get back to it. I have to believe that, right? Not only as a fan of college football, right, but an American. Like, we are pausing. This is not the new normal. We will not always be in this state. We will get out of this state and we'll move forward. And what I think is important to always remember is that I just want you to think about this for a second. I want you to think about nobody in college football stands this year, right? If they do play, nobody's there. Nobody comes. I want you to imagine what that stadium looks like in 2021 when it's full again, people are back. Like, that would be an unbelievable experience.
It's going to be maddening. I mean, it's like letting the cat out of the bag, so to speak. That's just going to be nuts.
It'd be wild.
Kids are going to go batshit crazy.
Oh, yeah.
And that's the thing. That's actually something I'm kind of concerned with, is that when people do get back to some sense of normalcy, are we going to act like madmen? And we're then going to have to reel everybody in, not because of COVID, but just going, look, we can't. You know how national championships, big cities like Ohio, you're guilty of this.
Sure.
You win you win the NBA championship, you win a collegiate championship, and you start burning cars and setting things on fire, and you're like, dude, we're celebrating? How did things end up here? There, yeah.
Yep.
So it'll be interesting to see how the human race reacts. So I want to keep going a few minutes. We're going to let this go a little bit longer than usual because cool talking to you, and we ranted for a little while.
Sure.
Just being silly. But collegiate athletes, should they get paid, in your opinion?
Wow, put me on the spot there.
Yeah.
No, I don't think they should.
And I didn't preface the beginning of this.
And let me tell you why. Okay. We want to talk about some type of a revenue share or something of using their image and likeness. If you want to talk about that, okay. But everyone wants to discuss this whole notion of these institutions making tons of money.
Yeah.
Right? Making tons of money. To be honest with you, they don't. there's only a handful of them that
Right.
operate in the black, right? There's only a handful of them that don't take funds from student fees. I mean, even your big ones. Like I just saw an article on ESPN that's talking about the highest paid head coaches who have not given back part of their salary, right? And even places like Alabama and Clemson, those guys are getting paid from student fees, right?
Wow.
Okay, so think about that. It's this big moneymaker. It's a business. It's all this stuff. And it's hard to deny that it's a business because you look at the SEC. The SEC is hell-bent on playing this year, right?
Yeah.
So they're putting themselves in a position where it's probably going to be a business at the end of the day,
Right.
right? But at the same time, these athletes are getting very well taken care of, right? And it's kind of something that we don't like to talk about. Now, are there athletes out there whose images are being used and things like that? Yeah, there are. They are.
And the school's profiting from that. The NCAA is profiting from that.
Sure.
Yeah.
And I don't know how much the NCAA is profiting from it. Like, I don't know the numbers on that. I would love to know more about it, but I don't know how much they're profiting on that. Because what we also forget about is, while we always look at football as the one that's getting paid, well, there's a lot of other sports at the NCAA fields, and there's championships for all those sports.
Right.
And they pay for all that stuff. Now,
And that money's trickling down into those sports, right?
all of them, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's what they go to pay for.
Yeah.
Right? Now, again, should one sport be in charge of paying for everybody's experience, or two sports in men's basketball and football?
Yeah.
Well, maybe not, but that's the model. That's how it has to work, or else nobody else gets to play. And I'm sorry, like, we've passed laws that there's equality in sport and that women get to play sports too.
Yeah.
Right? And they should. Like, I've gotten to coach female athletics at numerous institutions, and to be honest with you, like, they work harder than anybody else. It's awesome.
It's almost like they have something to prove a lot of times where they're like, look, you've got all this
They
benefit for
certainly do
years.
it,
We want to
but
show you.
They certainly
Yeah.
do, but they're great athletes in their own right.
Right.
They deserve a shot too. Like, it's not just one-sided, right?
Yeah.
Because I always say this, like, at the end of the day, you know, you have guys out there. I remember a few years ago, there's guys talking about, I can't eat, all this kind of stuff. Well, guess what? Food's now been deregulated. And if you ever have an opportunity to go see some of these places, stop. Don't tell me you're hungry again.
Yeah.
Like, because I know there's food out there, and there's food to be had, and you get fed plenty. And you have to choose to show up on time, to eat things, right, to do those type of things. Like, that's on you,
Yeah.
right? Like, you do have to be a bit of a grown-up, a little bit of big boy rules, take care of your business, right?
Right.
And there's plenty of food for you to eat and all that kind of stuff. And, yeah, maybe you can't live in the most expensive apartment complex on campus. Maybe you can. But I know for me, like, I lived with 5 other guys, and my check covered a lot of other things. And I went to Bowling Green State University, right?
So
Now-
you're talking about your stipend that you got.
yeah,
so-
yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I know it's there. But I also know this, right, is that for all those people whose image and likenesses they're using, okay, that when they leave, like at Ohio State is a great example of this. Ohio State seats about 110,000. Those people show up to watch Ohio State play. I know that.
Mm-hmm.
And when you leave, guess what? It's just like a bucket of water.
Yeah.
Pull your fist out, it's going to fill right back up again. Guarantee it. People are there to see the institution, not the person.
Yeah.
They're there to see the person of the hour, right?
Yeah.
But long term, they're there for the institution.
Dude, I got to stop.
Yeah.
Because I got to pee.
It's all good.
So you know, we were talking about these collegiate athletes before my bladder made me quit.
Yeah.
And the idea of should they get paid, should they get paid, and this whole likeness thing has come up. And I think that's what
Yeah.
LeBron James has been talking about is that, hey,
Yeah.
you're benefiting you, the NCAA, the schools.
You know, and the hard part for me is, like, I'm a team guy, right?
Yeah.
I've always been a team guy. I was not a superstar. So I can't really speak to that. Like, I don't know what it's like to be a superstar. I can't tell you that, but I do know what it's like to be part of a team.
Yeah.
And I do know that, I don't know. I feel like we might be creating more problems in a team environment. What do you do when a guy's making $100,000 a year as a player and his teammates aren't? Like, is there jealousy? Like, I don't know. I don't know what those dynamics become.
Yeah.
Now, there's the capitalist inside me that says, well, tough, should have been better ball, right? But at the same time, like, team dynamics are important,
Yeah.
right?
And where does it stop? Does that go to the collegiate level, then to the high school level?
Right.
And the next thing you know,
Yeah, I mean,
Pee Wee LeBron is getting a
that's,
shoe deal.
That's a great point, because I look at schools who say, you know, you have enough boosters who can say, hey, we want you to play for us. I'm gonna pay you $100,000. But we have a booster that's gonna pay $150,000 to advertise our cars. Like, it just opens Pandora's box, and I just think it leads you down a rough road, right? And I think you got to figure that out. And again, I know there's guys on ESPN that would vehemently disagree, and I get it. It's fine, right? But I'm going to be the old guy, the younger old guy who sits there and says, like, team's not dead, right? Teams are important, and doing things and sacrificing things for the good of the cause is important.
Well, I get, like, even in something as simple as what we're doing here today, I can sit in here and enjoy being on the mic and interviewing really bright, great people. But behind the scenes over here is a whole team who's helping me get this out in front of folks that we can share this message. And it takes, the cliche of it takes the team to make the dream work.
Sure.
Teamwork makes the dream work.
No doubt.
But we all understand that there's, you need those alpha males, you need those leaders, you need those standouts. Jordan did amazing things for his team, and I think if we go back and look at that ESPN, or I like ESPN.
Yep.
If we go back and look at that show that was just released, pretty amazing to see how his tenacity, his intestinal fortitude, his drive drove everyone else to play at a bigger, stronger,
Absolutely.
harder level.
No question.
UNC, right there.
I mean, that's good leadership at the end of the day, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's what leadership does. It makes you take yourself to another level because you don't have a choice, right?
Yeah.
It takes all the choice out. Like, you have to. It makes everybody around you elevate your game. And that's a sign of true leadership, right? And I think we see it today. I mean, he even talked about it in the documentary. Like, it's very difficult for some people these days to call others out, right? We don't do a good job of it. And it happens a lot in our everyday culture, right?
Yeah.
In our systems, in our organizations. We don't have thick enough skin. And again, I'm not talking about horse cussing somebody. I'm talking about somebody saying, like, you're not holding up your end of the bargain. I need you to step it up. And that's the struggle. That's the fight. That's what you do all the time, is trying to get everybody on the same page.
So that's one of the things I want to try to do with our audience. Again, in my client base, we have a pre-retiree, retiree, and business owners we work with, and a lot of these old cats were studs back in the day, and have you help kind of give some hope to us older fellas of what we can do to kind of get back on the horse again, because so much that I'm reading today about fitness and health is that there's so much information out there now that leads to staying active, pushing some heavy things around, keeping your cardio, has a lot of proof that it extends life, and healthy, vibrant life at that. So I'd love to have your expertise in there, showing some folks what they can do. Do you do any personal coaching outside of your profession? Is that you and your wife?
Not a lot, no. I mean, I have before. I don't do a ton of it. I have a person or two here and there that ask me for help, and I usually help.
So if folks reach out to me on our podcast and want to talk to you,
I mean, I take it case by case basis. To be honest with you, right?
Okay.
And I just try to help, right?
Yeah.
Like, and that's what I do. I try to do my best just to help people be
the best they can be.
Yeah, be more fit. Like
the Army likes that.
Like, to be honest, like, at the end of the day, like, why people ask me why I got into strength conditioning is people.
Yeah.
There's very little to do with strength conditioning. I love it. It's my medium, right? But you don't make relationships that way, or just through weight training, right?
That's
you make
awesome.
A relationship by being around people, getting to know people.
Yeah.
And training is a good way to do that.
See, that's a great definition of success too, which is one of the things when I'm interviewing high caliber people, and I'm not talking about billionaires. People always try to put a dollar to it. But,
sure.
The people that I really admire and respect are those who are doing their profession or their passion at a high level and at a very extreme, what would appear to most people an extreme level of intestinal fortitude to excelling at their profession. And that's one of the things I appreciate about the people that I've had the privilege and opportunity to interview is that it's never been about money. It's about being passionate about what is their driving factor. And if they do that, a lot of times the money follows.
Right.
So, if they're passionate about the oxygen they breathe, the money somehow
finds its way there. Yep.
Let's talk about constrictor bands.
Yeah, blood flow restriction.
Blood flow. What do you think about those real quick?
I don't think they're a bad thing, but it's advanced, right?
Yeah.
So, novice don't need to start there.
I shouldn't be doing that with Chunky Monkey.
No, you don't need to start there, right? I mean, it's really deep, and if you use blood flow restriction when you first started working out, that's going to explain your DOMs real quick.
Let's explain my stupidity. I'm a test case, man.
It's all good.
Yeah.
It's all good.
All right. We're going to end with this, but hey, dude, thanks so much for coming out.
You.
It was fun.
Sounds good.
Thanks for coming out. Cheers.
Yep.